Today we're going to be covering 3 exercises that are must-do for anybody who is experiencing any type of shoulder pain that is due to a labral injury. Now this could be if you're post-op after a surgery, but it could also be if you are trying to avoid surgery in the first place. These are 3 exercises that are absolute musts, non-negotiable exercises that you should be doing. Now these 3 exercises are going to involve 3 different positions. One is rotation out to the side, another is rotation in shoulder flexion, and another is rotation in shoulder abduction or away from midline. So these are all rotational based movements in planes of direction that give people trouble after a labrum injury. So if you've had a labrum injury, you've probably noticed that 1 or 3 of these positions become problematic, whether that's rotating out wide when your elbow's down by your side, whether it's trying to bring the elbow up with your arm parallel towards each other, this wall slide position, or this out wide rotary based movement. Those are 3 directions that people struggle with after experiencing a shoulder labral tear. Could be other reasons why someone might deal with problems with those directions. It's not strictly just a labrum issue, but that is beyond the scope of this video. This video, to keep it short, we're going to have to make some assumptions. So this does not mean it applies to every single one of you who are watching this video. Now, if you've had shoulder labrum surgery, before you start these exercises, you're probably going to have to go through a phase of range of motion or passive range of motion movement to be able to attain some of these positions in some of these directions. So these exercises are only after you've obtained the prerequisite range of motion to be able to perform these exercises and feel these exercises in the correct places. More on that later, because that's a super important concept of this, is feeling the exercise and the activity in the correct place. So this video isn't going to cover how to obtain the shoulder range of motion necessary. It's only if you have the shoulder range of motion available to you to allow you to start doing this exercise. Now, if you're trying to rehab this conservatively through just exercise, then you might be able to start these concepts a lot sooner. A lot of that is just going to be strictly dependent on your individual pain level and what you're able to tolerate. Now, getting back to the concept of what you feel during a movement, the area we should be feeling this exercise at is if there was the seam of my shirt running straight down through the midline, we want to imagine that seam carrying on all the way down. Anything that you feel on the back side of that seam is 100% okay to be feeling. Anything you feel on the front side, we want to be more cautious about. There's a sharp, searing pain right here. We have to be very careful of that. And we especially do not want that to be lingering. If you feel a little bit of something here and it does not linger above your baseline level of pain that you're currently experiencing, then that's okay. But if we're significantly exceeding that current baseline level of discomfort, then we have to be more mindful of that sensation. Ideally, we don't feel anything at all here, but in the early stages of rehabbing from this injury, more than likely you're going to get some type of sensation here. So we have to know what is okay to work through. I can just give you guidelines. It's up to you to discuss this with a rehabilitation professional that understands your issue and where you're trying to go to help you make better decisions. So that could be someone locally or that could be us online. But ultimately, the most common sensation that people will describe in the front of the shoulder is a binding sensation. So as I'm trying to reach out wide, or as I'm trying to go overhead, or as I'm out wide in abduction, they'll feel this binding sensation. And a lot of times what people don't feel comfortable with is that muscle fiber contracting and those fibers sliding past one another again. So a lot of people will refer to this as activating the muscle. We can think of it simply as activating the muscle simply, but all that you're trying to do is get that muscle to shorten completely in a way that feels comfortable, and a lot of times that reduces the binding sensation. So in this manner, the exercises that are helpful for this are actually more of a banded external rotation in these different positions, because those, think about what the band does. It accumulates more resistance as we go through the range of motion. So it kind of helps you feel that contraction as the muscle is getting shorter and shorter through that range of motion. So a lot of times banded exercises help with that binding sensation. Now we don't want to just think banded exercises are all that we need though. Also, if you're not getting that binding sensation, then you really don't need to be worried about those banded exercises. I would prefer you long term to do more weight-based exercises, because this gets you the resistance with gravity through a full range of motion, both on the concentric or the shortening of the muscle, but also the lengthening of the muscle as well too. And this is what helps build capacity back up in your shoulder, so that you hopefully don't have to ever worry about injuring this shoulder again in the long term, so as long as you do the correct things for it. So you'll see all three of these exercises done with a weight. Arm by the side, arm at 90 degrees of shoulder flexion, and arm out wide at shoulder abduction. So again, all three of these exercises are very important to rehab that shoulder, get that shoulder back to doing what it is that you want to eventually do again. Weights are ideal and preferred, but if you're getting some of that binding sensation, including some banded versions of these exercises may also be useful for you as well too. So give those three exercises a shot, drop it down below in the comment section how they go for you. And keep in mind, again, there may be other directions of movement that you may need to train to fully overcome this injury. This is not an all-inclusive video. This is just covering three very important movements for the shoulder labral issue. And then finally, if you're looking to get back into throwing or anything that involves impact for the shoulder, we're gonna have to take these things up to another level. Again, this should not be considered an all-inclusive video. If you'd like more help and more guidance with your shoulder issue, then feel free to reach out to me, Greg, at sportsrehabexpert.com, and we can discuss what it would look like to work together and develop a training program that is specifically made and tailored for you.